good scientists are also skeptics, and there's no one more skeptical about the research I do than me. So let me give you an example, and I'll just show you exactly how this works. In 2020, where we had collected a massive amount of data, we had preserved more than 1.5 million ephemeral experiences on Google and other platforms. And you're asking, ephemeral experiences, what are those? Those are those fleeting experiences that we all have online when we're shown search suggestions or answer boxes or search results or news feeds. They appear, they impact you, they disappear, they're stored nowhere, so no one can go back in time and see what was being done. That's what we've learned to preserve over the years. So here we go, 2020, we find, again, massive, overwhelming evidence of extreme bias. We've preserved 1.5 million ephemeral experiences. And I sent the data in to the office of Senator Ted Cruz. He and two other senators sent a very threatening letter to the CEO of Google. This was November 5th, 2020, 2 days after the presidential election. And lo and behold, that same day, Google turned off all the bias in the state of Georgia, which was gearing up for 2 Senate runoff elections in January. We saw them turn the bias off. It literally like flipping a light switch, as I was told by a Google whistleblower, literally like flipping a light switch. We had more than 1,000 field agents in Georgia, so we saw the extreme bias that was being shown. We saw them turn it off. Among other things, they stopped sending partisan go vote reminders. In other words, they were sending go vote reminders mainly to members of one party. But on that day in Georgia, no one got go vote reminders from Google anymore. So believe me, they have this power, they exercise this power. This has now been confirmed by multiple leaks from the company. For example, emails that were leaked to the Wall Street Journal in which Google employees were discussing how can we use, and I put this in quotes, ephemeral experiences to change people's views about Trump's travel ban. This has been confirmed by multiple whistleblowers, leaks of documents, leaks of videos, of a PowerPoint presentation. This is how the company operates. They literally know that they have the power to re-engineer humanity. That is a leak. That's a leak of a video called The Selfish Ledger from Google. Literally, that's what the video is all about. And that's what we're tracking. In other words, we're doing to them what they do to us and our kids 24 hours a day. We have learned how to surveil them and to preserve that very, very powerful ephemeral content, which normally is never preserved. And they never in a million years imagined that anyone would be sophisticated enough, competent enough, audacious enough to preserve that content. And that's what we are doing. And as of this moment in time, we have preserved in recent months more than 44 million ephemeral experiences on Google and other platforms. We have the data, we have the evidence, and it's court admissible. At the moment, independent media of any sort are in great danger. One of the most remarkable pieces ever written about this problem, long before, by the way, he ever became aware of my research, was written by the head of the EU's largest publishing conglomerate. It's a German. And he published a long letter in English and in German called Fear of Google. And it was about how his company, they're in constant fear of Google, and every decision they make, every business decision they make, they have to make in such a way as to not offend Google, because when Google decides to suppress content, for example, to demote you in their search results or delete you, there's nothing you can do. There's no recourse at all, and you are now out of business. And that's the environment in which we live. So no matter what it is, what content you want to contribute to the world, I'm speaking of you personally here, you're really, it's a whim on their part. You're literally under the influence of whims at that company about whether you can continue to get your message out. They've done this repeatedly with independent news sources. They have reduced their traffic to 10% of what it was. They can do that with the flip of a switch. And by the way, that was confirmed to me by one of the whistleblowers from Google. I'm in touch with a lot of the whistleblowers. I'm in touch with people at Google who haven't even blown the whistle yet. So I know way, way, way too much about what's going on there. But yes, at the moment, they have that power. They decide what more than 5 billion people around the world can see and cannot see. And at the moment, there is no way to counteract what they're doing. In the US, the courts have said over and over again, when they have, for example, shut down hundreds of websites belonging to one particular company, yes, they have that ability. They can block websites. They block millions of websites every day. March 31st, 2009, they blocked access to the entire internet for 40 minutes. That was reported by The Guardian, and that was never denied by the company. I eventually figured out, by the way, why they chose those particular 40 minutes to shut down the internet. The point is, they have this incredible power. They use this incredible incredible power. The courts in the US have said they have every right to do that because they're a private company. And see, that's the problem here. In other words, even though I agree with a lot of their values, because I lean left myself politically, I don't like the idea of a private company that's not accountable to us, to any public, having this kind of power. That's the problem here. The problem is not necessarily their values. The problem is the power that they have and that they're utilizing without any accountability to us, to any population, any group of people around the world. They're simply not accountable. I hope some of your viewers will go to mygoogleresearch.com, because this big national monitoring system that we started setting up last year, I had raised about $3 million to get us going on it. It's going extremely well. We've preserved now more than 44 million ephemeral experiences. We have a panel nationwide of more than 11,000 field agents in all 50 US states, because we've got to get the system going here fully before we start helping other countries. But the fact is that 3 million is now almost gone. I need access to other major funding. One of our advisors is trying to get us in touch with people in Switzerland who he feels might be very interested. Are there people in Europe or in the UK who could help us? Because this system has to exist. This is not optional for humanity. If we don't monitor them, we will never know how they're influencing elections or kids or human autonomy. With no system in place like that, I'll make a specific statement. If this system is not fully running next year in the United States, with all of our data being shared with authorities and with the public every single day, if this system is not there, Google alone will be able to shift between 6.4 and 25.5 million votes in the presidential election of 2024 without anyone knowing what they're doing, without anyone being able to go back in time and look at all that ephemeral content. That's what we're up against here. That's why we must have systems like this, monitoring systems in place that catch the data that they thought could never be caught. That's what we've learned how to do.